Never has this country, in recent times, expected or ever witnessed such an event to that occurred in the beginning of 2021. The general population of this country and the whole world expected 2021 as the year that everything returns to normalcy after a long and boring year of 2020, a year that was plagued by a worldwide pandemic of the coronavirus. The Capitol building in Washington, D.C. was overtaken by followers of the Republican Party on January 6, 2021. I will inform you about all the events that occurred in the capital of this country. I will also talk about how the riot was riled up by political events, lack of law enforcement, and what happened after the results of the riot. But before then, I will want to talk about some events that happened in U.S. history in the Capitol building. The first time the Capitol was breached in U.S. history was when British soldiers breached the Capitol in 1814, over 200 years ago, and for no such event of that magnitude to occur between now and then in that building is pretty significant. But there are some events that occurred in the Capitol building, some notable events, but not such a huge magnitude, such as the one that occurred in the beginning of this year. One event being 1954 when four Puerto Rican nationalists entered the Capitol building armed with handguns, opening fire at five members of Congress, but luckily zero were killed. But that could not be said the same for the next event that occurred in 1998 when an armed assailant entered the building, killing one officer sadly. One of the reasons the riot occurred or the protest was sparked was caused by political events that happened months prior, but protests and riots are not time specific. Not, not really. But the main political event is Donald Trump. Donald Trump was accused of inciting the events that occurred in Washington, D.C., claiming illegitimate ballots, often pressuring some U.S. states to do some vote recount, and ironically enough, some of the recounts came up with more Biden votes than Trump votes, which, again, ironic. Donald Trump took social media, claiming that he will not step down as president even if he isn't declared the winner of this presidential election, and that he claimed fraud in the presidential election, which leads me to the next event that kind of sparked the protest to occur is the Democratic Party winning the 2020 presidential election. Joe Biden was declared a winner November 7, 2020, and this event only added more fuel to the fire, which occurred months after Biden being elected the winner. And you would think that one of the most important buildings in this country will be heavily protected, but this wasn't the case during this protest. That being said, the government did expect a protest to occur, but they did not expect such a huge amount of following to arrive. And the protesters knew this. The protesters knew this and turned the then peaceful protest, into a full-blown riot. Since there was a lack of law enforcement, this resulted in unfortunate events that happened after the protest, becoming a riot, but it calmed down after hours, the Capitol being reached, which resulted in some unfortunate events, such as the result of the deaths of 5 people, 140 people being injured, sadly, the congressmen and women being evacuated. Luckily, you don't want to see no people of power being injured for ridiculous reasons like these, and the Capitol building being vandalized. Even though there was a lack of law enforcement, there were law enforcement there protecting the building, protecting the main entrance, which led the protesters or rioters to turn to drastic measures, vandalizing the building, breaking windows, breaking doors to get in the building, and which also led to the Capitol building being vandalized, sadly. So I will refresh your memory of the spark of the protest and the result of the riots. The President Trump claiming that he will not step down. Joe Biden win the presidential election, which caused the protest to occur. The lack of law enforcement, which resulted a protest to turn into a riot, and the result of the riot being the deaths of 5 people, congressmen and women being evacuated, and the Capitol building being vandalized. As I said, the United States did not expect such an event to occur in this what would be considered the most important buildings in this country, but what could be said. And with how the president or the then president incited the events, how the lack of law enforcement turned the protest into a riot, and what resulted afterwards will not be in future history books for future students to read, which is kind of crazy to think about, to be honest. This whole event may have shocked this whole country, but knowing that we can overcome such an event may give us peace and knowledge, knowing that we can overcome whatever comes our way. But hopefully, nothing like this ever occurs again. Only if it's for the right reason. Thank you.